This is where my family are from, near the north of Ireland originally, and this is a kind of harbour in France where we would have spent a lot of holidays and growing up. Sailing has been a big part of my life growing up, and it's actually how I met my husband. So it informed a lot of the kind of nautical paintings that are in the kitchen. We have really young kids and a dog, so I love this idea of the floorboards being really scuffed and aged already, and it just means like often there's like bikes and tricycles. But I think that's what's great about these old homes. You don't have to be too precious, and particularly how we live, we love to just be relaxed and enjoy the space. One thing people said when they came in, which I really loved actually, was that they said the kitchen, it looked like it had always been here. You know, it always had a kind of sense of place. And I thought that's actually for me the most successful design. When people walk in and they almost think that, oh gosh, was this always here? Because it just for me really signifies that each piece is sitting really beautifully or really well within the space. As we go through the home, that's really what I want, is that even though I've chosen and selected every piece, that it actually feels very comfortable and like it's been here for a long time. This is the living room. It's the space we actually use the most. Myself and my husband and our kids spend all of our evenings in here, so we really wanted it to be quite cozy and inviting. I love having pieces with soul or that have a heritage and a history, and I think pretty much every piece in the room, other than the upholstery, is vintage or antique. And generally I love to reuse and find really interesting objects and then scheme the designs around them. These two sets of armchairs, I think these are from the 1950s, and they had this really beautiful kind of soft bamboo detail that I loved. My little boy actually calls these the rainbow chairs, so there was a real vibrancy that I wanted to play throughout this scheme. I was really drawn to this by Tamara Dean. I love to sea swim, even in the depths of winter. So I felt the movement in this piece really appealed to me. And you know, there's kind of moments of oceanic and nautical elements in this house. We work with this amazing mural artist, so we came up with this idea of creating an almost underwater scene. So we have these incredible kind of scallop shells in the corner and the mermaid in the ceiling, but the idea is that we're under the ocean, kind of looking up at the water rippling away. There's a lot of men in this house, so I'm always trying to kind of balance the masculine and feminine energy, because of all the boys, I basically feel like I need to have a lot of female buzz and art, and you can see that almost as a theme as we journey through the house. And this is the drawing room of the house, so it actually goes over the full width. The hallway and the living room are below. There's so many pieces in this room that I absolutely love, or I've been collecting for such a long time. These chairs I picked up in the Click-en-Cour at the Paris Antique Market. It was originally in a silk, and I think just upholstering it in this incredible Pierre Frey kind of geometric mohair, it just gives it a new energy, and I love how it sits kind of against the Persian rug. The art in here is very eclectic, but I absolutely love the juxtaposition between, you know, a Renaissance painting and then this more contemporary abstract piece. This is like a triptych that I acquired from a Paris dealer, and it's from the 1970s. Very much like an abstract moment, but for me it's almost putting on the Ritz vibes, and I felt it was kind of perfect moment in a drawing room where we kind of often have drinks before we go out or we have people over. Especially if you're playing piano, it all kind of ties into that atmosphere. This painting is actually the first painting I bought. I was 18 and I got some money for my 18th birthday, and I bought this painting by an artist based in Limerick. I don't know, I just find this idea that the longevity, you know, versus maybe a piece of clothing that's gone in a couple of years, to have a piece that now I've had, I won't say for how long, but I've had it a long time. And maybe as I've been collecting, I've been always kind of thinking of that painting in my subconscious because I've had it for so long. The curtains are quite unusual. They're these totally oversized panels by Pierre Frey, and they actually depict these kind of embroidered palm trees, which again is a slightly unusual choice. And this room was really about maybe exploring, you know, it's a bit of a fantasy room that maybe, you know, you're having cocktails for in the evening or having big get-togethers. And I love this idea that there's all these kind of unexpected, whimsical moments. And this fabric, it's a detail that comes from an Egyptian sarcophagus, and they redesigned the fabric in a jacquard. So I'm fascinated by history and particularly, you know, the decorative art. So when there's an influence, I absolutely love kind of bringing that into a design project. And this is our bedroom. I really wanted it to be very serene and calm. We both have quite hectic lives. So I wanted this to be kind of an escape and just filled with a little bit of whimsy and magic. And also it has really spectacular views because we're on the first floor of the house and we love to watch the sunrise here in the morning. I've always wanted a 4-poster bed, but I just felt it might look quite blocky within the room. And this was a kind of domed 18th century bed I had seen, a kind of classical style. And so I explored this idea of kind of creating the dome and more of a swoopy feature to it. And I also love the kind of finials. I just think it makes it feel quite whimsy. I saw this incredible kind of embroidered fabric that we used as such a feature for the room because I just became totally obsessed by it. But again, I think it really draws your eye up to the ceiling height. There's kind of some nautical art in here as well. My husband used to be in the Navy and as you mentioned, sailing was a big part of our lives, but also kind of teamed then with the more contemporary artists and then some of the more kind of classic slim irons. This is a boys' bedroom. It's actually on the top floor of the house, so it has the lowest ceilings. It feels very inviting. They both love Peter Pan. It's one of favourite kind of old school movies that we watched together. And I felt that this room should have that atmosphere. So that's where we kind of went with the bobbin style beds, the kind of nautical canopies, and I love to paint portraits as well, so as they grow up each year I'll paint a different portrait for them. It's probably one of my favourite rooms in the house actually because we have so many happy memories here. I've been designing for nearly 15 years now, and I think it came at a point where I was probably really brave enough to lean into what I truly adore, and ultimately I just want this to be a home for my boys and my husband that we just can relax, enjoy and be surrounded by maybe really interesting objects that spark joy. And I think your home should be a space that enriches you and it fills you with creative fire that you want to create more.